Now that this is done, we're going to look at modeling a few more mechanical components on this machine, namely the movement of the apron that's at the front of our forklift. So similar to what I did before, I'm going to go under the forklift and go and find the node under the graphics that is called mast pivot DOF. Underneath, we're going to see that we have another one that's going to be of interest to us. That's going to be the apron sled DOF. So for each of these elements, I'm going to go in and create a part. So I'll come in here, create part and assembly, and I'm going to do the same thing here for the apron sled. Create part and assembly. Now, of course, I could go in, assign weights or mass, assign inertia tensors, assign collision geometries, but we're just going to do a very basic simulation here of the movement of that mast. So the way that I'll do that is I'm just going to create two basic constraints. I'm going to save my mechanism, and then I'm going to jump inside of the assembly. Then I'm going to choose pairs of parts as I've done before to be able to create a constraint between the mast pivot and the body. And so this will be a hinge constraint that's going to move along the plus y axis. So just like we've done with the wheels, we're going to create a constraint here, and it's going to move along that axis because this entire assembly here is going to be set on a hinge to be able to lean back or move forward to pick up different types of objects. What I'm also going to be creating is a constraint between the apron and the mast pivot. And so here, this time I'm going to use a different constraint than we've seen before called the prismatic. So whereas the hinge is going to have two parts rotating along an axis, one in relationship to the other, the prismatic will have one part slide along a line, along a straight line in relationship to the other part. So I'll choose here prismatic, and we'll see here that I will call this apron vertical in terms of the name of the constraint, and I'm going to have the two parts, and I'm going to have then the movement that's going to be along the vertical axis. What I'm also going to be setting is going to be some limits. So here in terms of limits, I'm going to say that the upper limit is going to be 1.8 meter. The lower limit I'm going to leave as 1. So when I click OK, I will see that I'm going to have the movement line of the apron drawn here inside of the editor. Now if I want to be able to see that move, I could go in and choose that this should be a motorized constraint. So should the hinge constraint that I've created for this main part of the mast. And I should also specify that I want to have a desired velocity. In this case, I'm going to set it to 1 meter per second. So we can see that the units here have changed based on the fact that this is a prismatic constraint and not a hinge, which had degrees per second. And so now when I run, I'm going to see that my apron is going to go up, but it does stop at a set point when it has reached the maximum height for that element.